want your MoMo pin.
The only way in is with your PIN. Keep it safe. MTN Mobile Money is the safest way of keeping your money and making transactions.
See?
Yes, baby.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Baby, bring it down.
Yes, baby.
Baby, I want your MoMo pin.
The only way in is with your PIN. Keep it safe. MTN Mobile Money is the safest way of keeping your money and making transactions.
We'll give all of you a nice lunch in this hotel. So thank you for coming. We first want to acknowledge the presence of the CEO of MTN in the person of Mr. Adadevo. Please put your hands together for our Chief Executive Officer of MTN. And there's a whole raft of MTN bigwigs here, not least the General Manager for Mobile Money, Eli Hini, who's really the man putting this together. Thank you. Of course, the MTN CEO is called Selom Adadevo. So we also have our General Manager for Enterprise Business, Samuel Adu. I saw him somewhere at the, yeah. Thank you, Sam. Privileged to have our Acting Corporate Services Executive, Mrs. Pala Asiedu Fori. Thank you. Acting CMO, Mr. Guido Sopime, also here with us. And of course, the Acting Sales and Distribution Executive in the person of Abu Bakar Mohammed. Thank you. And of course, we have Louisa Sosu, who is representing the Chief Technology Officer, also here. Louisa, thank you. A program of this caliber cannot be graced by only MTN people. And so we have a very strong list of partners who are here with us to support the event. First, we want to acknowledge the presence of the current head of the Inclusive Markets team of CGAP, Stephen Rasmussen. We're privileged to have the first Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Maxwell Opoku-Afari. We have the incoming Managing Director of Barclays Ghana, Madame Abena Osei Poku, Mrs. And then, of course, how can we do without our good friend Ken Ashibe, who's the CEO of the Chamber of Telecommunications. Ken, thank you. I'm very sure I've forgotten some people, but I will continue the introductions later. I don't want it to get boring. So what I want to do now is to invite Pala to come and properly greet you. She is the Acting Corporate Services Executive. So please welcome Mrs. Pala Asiedu Ofori. It's a long walk, so please keep clapping as she comes. It's a long walk to freedom.
Good morning, everyone. First Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Maxwell Opoku-Afari, CEO and executives of MTN, heads of financial institutions and partner companies, the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome you all this morning to this event. We appreciate the time that you've taken off your very busy schedules to be here with us, and we don't take it for granted. We are especially grateful to every single person who's made the opportunity, the time, to be here for this discussion. Since MTN launched the annual Mobile Money Month 7 years ago, we have deliberately included in the lineup of activities each year a forum like this to create awareness of key issues related to mobile financial services. As pace setters in the business, we have made it our responsibility to stimulate and lead discussions to ensure the sustainability of mobile money. With MTN's over 9 million active subscribers, 100,000 agents, over 50,000 merchants across the country, and 17 partner banks, we can confidently say that many people have embraced non-cash transactions. Today, we are seeing the importance of the mobile money service for a wide range of services, including bill payments, salary payments, school fees, payment for goods and services, and many others. Insurance companies are embracing mobile money as a channel for receiving premiums. Microfinance companies are also using it as a platform for the repayment of loans. And I have a little story. I actually was able to send money for someone who needed a blood transfusion in Pando, all the way in Pando. And imagine if mobile money was not available. Today, the theme is digitizing payments in Ghana, the implications of additional taxes on mobile money transactions. Understandably, the exponential growth of mobile money services sector over the past decade makes it appealing to regulators and industry watchers. A number of proposals have come up, and these have been made as to how best to leverage mobile money services to drive economic growth, and taxing the service has been considered. As a matter of fact, some taxes are already in force as regards the mobile money service. The question, therefore, is whether additional taxation of a service that is growing and proving itself to be a core driver of financial inclusion at a convenient price to Ghanaians is the way to go. How would it impact penetration, and what would it mean to the customer? Now more than ever, we need to dialogue and ask all the critical questions so that we can gain a deeper understanding of how taxes on mobile financial transactions will impact the customer in the economy. The annual Mobile Money Stakeholder Forum has always proven to be a valuable platform for such discussions, and I'm sure today's discussion and today's session will be equally engaging. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we are privileged to have very experienced personalities here with us today to discuss the issues, and so we're all going to be in very good hands. Today we have with us here this morning Dr. Maxwell Opoku-Afari, First Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana. Thank you for making the time. Mrs. Abna Osei-Poku, Managing Director, Barclays Bank. Thank you. Steve Rasmussen, GCAP, and Mr. Elihini, General Manager, Mobile Financial Services, to mention a few. Once again, a very warm welcome to you. Thank you all for being here, and I'm sure that we're going to have excellent discussions this morning. Thank you.
More and more people are using MTN mobile money in their everyday lives. Hear that? She just paid her kids' school fees. More and more people are using MTN mobile money in their everyday lives. Hear that? She just paid her kids' school fees. She just paid for her lunch. And this man just paid his tithe. And this guy just paid for his shoes. No. You just send money to the old lady again, eh? Very necessary.
It's like money in your pocket.
Keep up with the times. Got a payment to make? Just MoMo it. It's that simple, secure, and convenient.
Welcome to the sound of better money.
The MTN MoMo Stakeholder Workshop, which is on a very interesting theme. It's one of the longest themes, digitizing payments in Ghana, the implications of additional taxes on mobile money transactions. It's like an examination topic. Discuss. You have 30 seconds. Your work starts now. Very, very nice indeed. So if you're listening to us and you want to contribute, hashtag MTN MoMo Month, we'll be happy to read your comments because we have the very best minds in the sector gathered in this room. We're going to have 5 key presentations and a panel discussion. The first person to speak to us is a man who's been doing this work for many, many years. He's the lead financial sector specialist for CGAP. Now, CGAP is the consultative group which assists the poor. It's part of the World Bank's initiatives. It's worked in many, many markets. And between 2001 and 2008, for example, he was CEO of the Pakistan Microfinance Network, also CEO of the Aga Khan Rural Support Program. And this he did between 1994 and 2003, where he helped establish the first microfinance bank in Pakistan. This is many, many years ago. He joined CGAP in 2006 and has since led the team that works on building digital financial systems that include poor people in Asia and Africa. We are very happy to have him here in Ghana. Ladies and gentlemen, help us receive our first speaker for today, Stephen Rasmussen. Oh, after such a powerful introduction, oh, Charlie, why? I beg, do better.
Thank you very much. I know I'm a very old guy. He made me sound older than I am. I don't have long remarks because I think we have other people speaking today who will speak directly to some of the issues, both why go down this road of taxation or why not. Let me say, first of all, that for CGAP, we look at Ghana today and what's happening, particularly in the mobile money space, or what we more broadly term as digital financial services, as an example that we can use with other countries. Ghana has made enormous progress over the last few years. And so we see ourselves learning from the Ghana experience more and more. And we're able to use this learning across our work globally. I can remember back when we started working in Ghana, we were bringing more global experience into Ghana. That goes back 6, 7, 8 years. And I think the tables have turned a little bit. Not to say that there isn't more progress to be made, but it's good to see another sort of rising success story. And we're not just talking about Kenya anymore. So I think congratulations to a lot of people in this room who've worked hard to make things happen. I will also say that obviously leading the charge in Ghana is really MTN, and I don't want to avoid recognizing other people, but I'm pleased that MTN organized this. Thank you for inviting me. And we have worked closely with MTN, not just in Ghana, but in some other countries. And I think MTN is one of those companies that's really taken the mobile money or the financial inclusion agenda seriously. And is really making an effort to make that work across a number of markets in Africa. I think on the taxation issue is to say that we see more and more countries starting to look at taxation of mobile money transactions. Now, of course, there's a long history of taxation on the GSM side, on the airtime side, and people are familiar with that. And now, as more and more mobile money transactions happen, revenue authorities begin to see an opportunity for revenue generation in the mobile money side. So it's not uncommon what we're seeing in Ghana, or discussing in Ghana right now, with a lot of other countries. And it's an easy target in some ways, in a short-term sense, both on the airtime side and on the mobile money side. It's an easy target because there's very few companies. All the transactions are in the formal sector. There's a record about it. It's an easy short-term fix for revenue generation. And I would suspect that with today's mobile money customers, they may not be so price sensitive to add another 1% or 2% onto their transactions. Having said that, I can understand why revenue authorities might sort of look at this. Our view in CGAP would be, however, that one needs to take a broader look at this. And we're a long way from full financial inclusion, which is another policy goal of the government. And here in Ghana, it's a pretty strong goal. We're a long way from having a digitized, formalized economy that everybody signed on to. I was meeting a couple days ago with your vice president, and that's clearly a strong policy objective of this government. And we're a long way from there, even though we've taken steps in that direction. I think also we're a long way from sort of being fair about how we generate revenues, and a tax on, say, airtime or mobile money may not be a wrong policy, but it is regressive in the sense that it hits poor people more than wealthy people. So the point that we would make is that all of these policy objectives should be taken into account. It shouldn't be just one short-term policy made by one part of the government, but it's worth seeing this happen across the board. So how does one policy affect another? And our plea would be more for a cross-policy dialogue. It ought to include not just the Ghana Revenue Authority, but other ministries, regulators, the private sector. And at the end of the day, what we're trying to get to, we may be better off generating revenue from a much broader base if in fact we can encourage everybody to use digital financial services, if we formalize the economy in totality, if in fact we can make retail merchant payments work in the digital world, do we get a much bigger benefit? And so what we don't know is when you start taxing something like mobile money, what's the effect of that on these other policy objectives? Is it positive? Is it negative? A lot of countries have started to do taxation on mobile money transactions. So you're hearing these examples. We see it in Tanzania, Uganda, Democratic Republic of Congo, etc. But it's too early to really say what the effect will be, and it may not be the effect that we want. There may be unintended consequences in that. So we think trying to look at the big picture policy environment, trying to get across policy dialogue, trying to avoid unintended consequences, these are really important things, much more important than the short-term gain from simply putting in a tax on something that's a relatively easy target. So I wouldn't say if this debate is a question of for or against, I'm not sure that we're either for or against, but we are very much in favor of a wider dialogue, a bigger look at this, a longer-term sense of where the government really wants to get with policy and what's good for Ghana. Thank you.
Wow, what a way to introduce the program. That was fantastic. Please put your hands together for Mr. Rasmussen once again. And I think if I were doing my journalism, I would have written the headline for the front page of the BNFT. Rasmussen calls for cross-policy dialogue on taxing mobile money. That's a nice headline. Rasmussen, or CGAP calls for cross-policy dialogue, and then underscore, don't be hasty in implementing the tax. So I've gotten a couple of stories already. Fantastic. Thank you. We'll be looking forward to you in the discussion, but I think you've made Ellie's work much, much easier. So Ellie Hini is the man running MTN Mobile Money Limited, and this is really his event. And I'm sure a lot of the things he wanted to say you've already said, but he wouldn't be angry at all. So I'm going to call him up to also make his argument, not necessarily for or against, but to deepen the conversation on the theme. So please put your hands together for Ellie Hini. He's our second speaker for the morning. Thank you.
Good morning. Good morning, and welcome to all of you. Thank you very much, Bernard, for those kind words. And just as I was getting up to come, I've seen the Honorable Deputy Finance Minister walking. Welcome, sir, and thanks for honoring the invitation. Like Bernard said, some work has been done for me by Stephen, and I'll try and go quickly through my slides. The first one, I'm sure we can all see the socio-economic impact of mobile money already, looking at our headquarter story. Okay, so my presentation will cover the above outline. Okay, all right. So for the first slide, it's just to acknowledge where we have come from. And today we are talking about digital payments through mobile money. And this journey started in 2009 when the service was launched under the branchless banking guidelines. And the service has transformed thanks to the hard work of all the stakeholders who are here, the regulator and the likes of CGAP, GSMA, to try and work hard to transform this financial service that we have all embraced. And a lot has gone into regulation, and by the 2015, we are transitioned into the electronic money issuers guidelines, and that is the EMI of 2015. And today, we are talking about the latest, which is the Payment Systems and Services Bill 2017 that will replace the EMI in the coming months. And that shows that a lot of work has gone on, and I think the team and everybody in this room deserve a big round of applause. Okay. If you can help me from the back end, because, okay. Now, so I'll just spend a few minutes to talk about the socio-economic impact of the service. We are talking about this service which has done a lot in the area of job creation. When Paula was giving her speech, you heard the number of agents she mentioned. Industry level, we are over 150, 170,000 agents for the service, and that is employment creation for most of Ghanaians. And these agents also at least have 3 or 4 individuals who work for them. So you can multiply the 150 by 4, and it tells you the number of people who are engaged in this business. We are also talking about merchants and the like. Now, when it comes to the other related industry, today we are talking about fintechs. Fintechs who have now gotten something to do because of this industry, and that is also creating opportunity for people to transform their lives. Micro insurance, micro credits. Today, people are able to take micro loans through mobile money. We are talking about micro mobile health and the likes. Then a very important part of it is the float. Which would have otherwise been in the informal sector, in people's pockets, under their beds. All these have come into mobile money. And today we are talking about over 2 billion Ghana cedis that have been mobilized. All these funds have gone back into the financial sector, which is now the banks who are using this in various ways. And so bank capitalization and liquidity has been enhanced. And of course, we are having to look at printing less cash or notes. And the other one is their value proposition and the fact that the onboarding and the channel to actually use the service is simply a mobile phone. And we all know mobile phone is commonplace, so it's easy to afford to use the service, and also the costs of transactions are affordable. Now, in the area of changing behavior. Socio-economically, people are now saving money because if you put money on your mobile money wallet, even for the basic wallet, you earn some interest on that money. So changing behavior, people are now putting money into savings. People are investing now in government treasury bills using the wallet. Pensions, because people are now able to put money for their future. So there are a lot happening. Interventions today, WFP, the UNHCR, and even our own LEAP, we've used this channel to reach these vulnerable people because the channel is cheaper to serve and cost to serve, therefore helps to do that. Apart from all that, for these international organizations and ourselves, there's also traceability and easy accountability because the records are there and you can actually track everything, and therefore accounting for these businesses becomes easier. Then the issue of revenue generation. Today, the service already generates some revenue to government. The EMIs pay taxes as corporates, and of course, our agents who offer the service. The service fees that, then we talk about our agri sector. We are doing a lot of work in digitizing the agricultural sector, most importantly the cocoa story, where today farmers are now receiving their payment for their cocoa through this medium. It's now easier to receive, they can validate their payments, and they access their funds when they want. And there are services which are also complementary on the platform they can use these funds for. So they can pay school fees, they can also invest part of that money. And so it's very transformational, and we believe that we need to sustain that growth and make sure a lot more people can come into the sector and use the product for financial inclusion and socio-economic empowerment. And that brings me to the conversation around payment and how far we have come. In fact, payment is the next big thing when it comes to mobile financial services. The instance of money transfer and remittances and all that are good, but the next big thing is to try and make the product transactional and everyday use so that people don't carry cash in their pocket, they carry money electronically. And remember, the beauty of electronic money is that it is only usable at the point of transaction. So whilst it's on your wallet, it's still funds which is available elsewhere. And it is only when you try and use it for a payment that it becomes usable funds at that time. And that's why it's important versus cash, which is in your pocket and away from everything else, and it doesn't come into the financial service system once it's in your pocket. But with electronic money, that money is still sitting at the bank, and until you use it to do a transaction, it's still available for some other things and can earn you additional income as well. That's why electronic money and digital payments are very important, and we must try and look at that. And Ghana is leading the way, like has been said. But in all this leadership, we still see a lot of cash transactions in this country. And this is a report that was released by Better Than Cash Alliance. And look at the graph. For all the work that mobile money has done, and that's why we are saying we are not there yet. Cash is still king in this economy. 99% of the value of transactions or payments is cash, even for all the hard work. Now, if you look at it in terms of volume, 99, value, yes, there's some 37% there, but it is also because digital payments by nature, because of the current model, your checks and other huge transfers can also be very high, and that's why it's giving that impression. But 99% is what is important, because that is the count, the number of transactions we are talking about. And so there's really a lot of work to be done here. Now, if you look at the electronic payments landscape in Ghana, and we are using the Bank of Ghana Payment System Department report of 2017, look at what we see. Mobile money by volume in terms of digital payments accounts for 97%. So from activity point of view, it is the natural channel to use to move us into the cash light environment, because this is our best bet against cash. This is the service that has the potential to win the war against cash. If you look at the other electronic payment channels, yes, they have been with us for a long time, but if you look at their contribution, mobile money is the way. If you take the 2018, the number has even gone further. 98% by volume of digital payments has come from mobile money. So if there's nothing you take away from this session, remember that it is the single service that has the potential to win the war against cash, and we must embrace it. And it only means that we should continue to promote it. And with all this growth, if we are still talking 99% cash, then it means that mobile money still has a long way to go. And what we should be discussing today are ways by which we can continue to leverage and grow this service so that we can all embrace the benefits thereof. And this is just, once again, to talk about confirming what I showed earlier, that mobile money leads the way in digital payments, as you can see in the case of Usain Bolt. Now, the other conversation, which is also very important in this journey, is the whole conversation around financial inclusion, because it is one product that helps us to deepen financial intermediation in this country, brings everybody onto the table, the poor, everybody, because like I mentioned earlier, the channel to use for this service is very, very affordable. Everybody in this room has a phone, and I'm sure people have more than one, and today, if you go into the market, our headquarters, they also have phones, and so they're able to use the service. And for all the hard work, we are talking about over 170,000 from industry point of view by way of agents. And so accessibility for the service is good, and we can continue to expand on that. There's a lot of work that has been done in partnership with the banks to also provide the needed support in the area of liquidity for our agents to try and drive this service. The innovations that has come in to try and deepen, today you can take a loan with your wallet because of partnership with the financial institutions. You can sign up for a savings product. You can invest in treasury bills. You can also sign up for your future by putting some money aside, and mainly for the informal sector. This is what we are talking about. And financial inclusion is all about driving penetration into the informal sector. And so for these people, now having an opportunity to be able to participate, for me, is important, and far more important for us into the future than trying to make immediate gains today from taxes. The regulatory environment has also been very positive, and there's still a lot more work. And I just want to highlight the fact that even the last just ended MTN IPO, people with mobile money wallets were able to participate. They didn't have to go into the formal financial service environment to buy shares. With their mobile money wallet, Ghanaians were able to buy shares. That is what we are talking about. And there's still a lot of work to be done. And of course, the issues of partnership. So, in conclusion, and coming to all the discussions we have talked about today, other countries have gone on this journey, but we all are hearing the stories and the impact that is having. First of all, the whole taxation conversation, we believe, undermines all the investments that are still going into the sector to try and expand. The stakeholders are investing a lot of money. They are putting money behind it, and we believe the focus should be rather trying to grow and expand that ecosystem. Because once we expand the ecosystem, and like I mentioned, we bring the payment side of things to bear on this industry, then it means everybody will now be using his wallet to do a transaction. Cash will be eliminated. The first savings that comes to us is the cost of cash, managing cash, printing cash, and we all see how much we invest in policing cash, bullion vans driving through traffic with a lot of protection and all that savings that it comes with. The issues of armed robbery and the effect that it has on people, both socially and economically, all the stress that it comes with. That takes that away. So let's look at the bigger picture of what payments brings to us than the immediate gains. The financial inclusion we've talked about. This service helps deepen financial inclusion and brings the informal sector. And therefore, it should be in our interest to try and expand it at this moment so we can elicit all the benefits than to try and put an impediment that may take other people's interest away. Remember, for government, beyond everything else is the fact that there will now be information, there will now be data, there will now be participation by all. And that rich data, I'm not sure anybody can quantify it. Today, we are talking about data, and we are talking about the cost and the value of data. That alone is huge capital for us, because that will help in our planning and in our forecasting better. Because today, because most of these forecast work we do is based on very little information, we are not able to forecast properly because we don't have data to back most of the things. But with this one, with the participation of all and growing the space, we will be able to have data to inform the things we do, take the right decisions that will help us grow our economy. And therefore, it's important that we bring everybody in, and so financial inclusion. Then the poverty gap is also going to be impacted, because if now people rely on this service for microloans, for savings, and there are further impact on it, then we understand that we'll be pushing people further down. The other one is job losses. And this one is very direct, and we are hearing all the feedback from the just implemented Uganda case. We've seen the number of people who have lost their jobs, agents have lost their jobs, even after they've recovered the law and has tried to enhance it. Some of those losses have not come back, because once people moved away, they've moved back to their cash. And once they move back to their cash, it will take a long time. I mean, this journey started 2009. And we are almost 10 years into the journey, and this is how far we have come. One step takes us several years back, and it will take us another 10 years or more to come to where we are now. And therefore, we think we need to be very careful about that. And then the whole idea about reduced activity. If you bring this in and the impact you've seen in other markets reduces the activity, then what it means is that overall, you may get something today you quantify as tax, but overall, if you look at what you would have got in terms of overall impact, it cannot compensate for what you are getting now. It means that you just get a little bit of the pie rather than get the participation of all that will give you a bigger pie. And we believe the way forward is to focus on growing this industry. Let's help to digitize our economy and expand. And it's already part of the government's own agenda to talk about paperless port and all that. So the agenda is there, and we believe that it is a good thing to do. What is important is let's focus on the right drivers to try and expand that and make sure we make the best out of it. And I want to quote that it's important Ghana does not consider going in this direction, as the benefit of the service outweighs the exaggerated gains from taxes. And here, I want to conclude by saying, anytime mobile money figures are mentioned, there's so much excitement, 100 billion transactions, then people are excited. But the truth is that the service had several dynamics. There is an aspect of it which is bringing money onto the platform, which we call cashing, which accounts for over 20% of that value. And that transaction in itself is a cost, because we must incentivize agents for them to hold electronic money to bring money onto the platform. Then if you look at the volumes also, there's another chunk, over 70%, which are enabling transactions, which really do not attract any fees or revenue. And these transactions are expected to help the big players to also participate in payment and movement of funds. And just the normal transaction of 29% then comes at opportunity of fees that elicit fees. And therefore, we need to be mindful when we hear the numbers, that the numbers by itself don't represent the quantum. It is just a figure that evolves in the industry. On that note, I want to thank you for your attention.
So that was Elihini, If you didn't know where he worked, now you know. Sure. But the first speaker said we should have a broad-based view, we should relax. And you there, you've taken the thing World Cup. Charlie, if you are listening to us on the radio, we just went through a 10-minute annotated presentation with diagrams. Why we shouldn't dare to increase taxes, because it will undermine the investment case. It will undermine financial inclusion. It will widen the poverty gap. It will lead to unemployment. And the tax will lead to revenue losses. Charlie, you have a very difficult job today. And that's why I can ask you to come, because you are the guy who deals with the revenue agencies. So the way things are going, I think we have all our panel. So I want to invite them to come up stage, because there's a screen here so that we can face the people. So if it wouldn't be a bother, Kweku Kwatin, Deputy Minister, Deputy Governor, Dr. Eli, and then our next speaker, Mrs. Abena Osei Opoku, and of course, Mr. Rasmussen. Please come up stage so that we know that you are going to take part in the panel. So, Minister will sit in the middle, flanked by Eli and Mrs. Abena Osei Opoku, and then Mr. Rasmussen, you will sit closest to me, because I still like your story. Yes, you are my man. And then I will put the governor at the extreme end. So we're going to take our third presentation. Listeners, this is still the MTN MoMo workshop, coming to you live from the Kempinski Hotel. We've had 2 speakers already. Our first speaker is from CGAP. Our second speaker is from MTN. Our third speaker is comfortably in the middle. She's the incoming managing director of Barclays Bank Ghana, and she's done over 15 years in various markets across the world in banking. We're very happy to have Mrs. Abena Osei Opoku as our third speaker. Please put your hands together.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The Honorable Deputy Minister Kweku Agyeman-Kwarteng, the First Deputy Governor, Dr. Maxwell Opoku-Afari, the CEO and executives of MTN, fellow managing directors and representatives from the banking industry, fintech partners, media partners, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure to be here this morning to share some thoughts on digitizing payments in Ghana, a wave that is taking payment and customer convenience to new heights. I'd like to acknowledge the insightful presentations shared so far. My work is actually made a lot easier, and I was just telling Ellie that it would appear as if I've just cut and pasted what they've said into my speech. Ladies and gentlemen, the impact of a digitally led payment ecosystem cannot be overemphasized. Studies conducted globally have shown that broader access to and participation in financial systems can reduce income inequality, boost job creation, accelerate consumption, increase investments in human capital, and directly help people manage risk and absorb financial shocks. Therefore, the issue of payment digitization and any challenges that are likely to hinder success in this growing sector is worth discussing. According to the World Payments Report 2017, non-cash payments saw the highest growth in the past decade, with transaction volumes reaching over 430 billion. Not surprisingly, developing economies are the key drivers of this growth in the digital space, spurred by high mobile phone penetration. In sub-Saharan Africa alone, overall mobile phone subscriber penetration reached over 44% in 2017, and it is estimated that non-cash payments in developing economies will be growing cumulatively around 19.6% between 2015 and 2020. In Ghana, our journey towards digital payments, significantly led by mobile money payments, would not be complete without recognizing the key role played by government in accelerating its progress. Several important milestones for a shift to digital payments are already in place. These include the relatively good connectivity, the growing financial infrastructure, and a continuously improving regulatory environment. According to the Bank of Ghana's payment statistics, the volume of mobile money transactions grew by 78% between 2016 and 2017. And as Ellie said, it's just the beginning of the journey. I would like to take this opportunity to congratulate all stakeholders for the successful implementation of the Mobile Money Interoperability Initiative. This is definitely a key milestone in our financial inclusion journey. So with the central bank taking the bold step to regulate the industry, banks no longer see fintechs or telecos as threats, but rather we see you as collaborators in achieving a sustainable digital payment landscape that will actually achieve government's cashless agenda. MTN Ghana, our host, is undoubtedly a pace setter in digital transactions, and we, the banks, are proud to be partners in driving this agenda. There's no gainsaying that regulation calibrated to enable low-cost services for the financially excluded is very essential to the success of the digitized payments landscape. An even playing field results in consumers receiving poor quality and high cost of services. Definitely, the passage of the new Payment Systems and Services Bill will undoubtedly play a very significant role in achieving a fair competition amongst players and promoting innovation. As government seeks to broaden the tax net and rake in more revenue to help meet the development aspirations of our beloved country, the question of mobile money taxation naturally emerges. According to the World Bank Development Research Group, the Better Than Cash Alliance Country Diagnostic Report of 2017, in Ghana, about 98% of payments are still currently made in cash, and I think this has already been said by one of the earlier speakers. And this is predominantly because individuals and even businesses continue to purchase essential goods and services in the informal economy. The strong preference for cash in Ghana is also a result of the high cost of digital payments that are often passed on to end users of the service. The potential gains for public finances from working with providers to digitize payment are far more significant than an immediate direct taxation on mobile money transactions. In Kenya, for instance, a person-to-government payments project demonstrated how government support for mobile money can widen the tax net and increase revenue. The Kenya National Transportation Safety Authority saw a doubling of revenues within a year simply by digitizing payments due from motorists. If you recall, in 2015, the government of Ghana introduced a 17.5% VAT on certain fee-based banking transactions. This did not only discourage people from opening bank accounts, but we actually saw existing bank customers resort to other means of payment, and this defeated attempts to get people to save with the financial institutions. Ladies and gentlemen, any discussion regarding the introduction of taxes on mobile money payments should take into consideration the important informal sector in Ghana, as both individuals and businesses have several incentives to remain outside of formal systems that collect taxes and financial transaction fees. The increasing use of digital payments and the reduction in the use of cash has a positive impact on increasing tax compliance and decreasing money laundering. The Port Paperless project, as mentioned earlier, is a very clear example of how digitization in our own country led to significant improvement in government revenue collections. Any mobile money transaction task must carefully be thought through or must carefully think through how it prevents from being counterproductive. For instance, a student who receives either their fees or stipends from their parent will be subjected to tax, while the businesses who carry a lot of cash actually will be evading taxes. With the current low financial penetration in the country, an introduction of a mobile money transaction tax has a very high propensity to hurt the most vulnerable in our society and undo the gains made in promoting a cash-light economy. Just to reiterate, for instance, in Uganda, the turnover on mobile money reduced by 60% just within 2 weeks with the introduction of a 1% tax on mobile money transactions in July 2018. This tax has subsequently been revised to 0.5%, but the media in Uganda is awash with reasons why it is not the best way forward. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, there's the need to strike the right balance between immediate tax revenue and growing the nascent digital payments industry in Ghana to propel further economic growth. It's important in closing to highlight the following. Digitization helps to overcome the costs and physical barriers that have beset otherwise valuable financial inclusion efforts. Digital payments offer the opportunity to rapidly scale up access to financial services using mobile phones, retail points of sales, and other available access points when supported by an appropriate financial consumer protection framework. A combination of private sector incentives fueled by collaborative industry efforts and tax incentives for digital merchant payments will be the right combination to drive usage. The digitization of payments would also lead to large cost savings for public utilities. It would allow for a significant reduction in the number of utility fiscal pay points and lead to a decrease in rent, maybe even wages, logistics, and other operating costs. Digital payments can promote economic empowerment by facilitating greater account ownership and asset accumulation. This will definitely increase women's economic participation. Finally, we, the banks, will continue to partner all stakeholders such as MTN and your entire value chain in promoting the digital agenda. However, a lot depends on government policy direction and the creation of an enabling environment to help grow the industry. The benefits of having a financially inclusive economy in Ghana at this particular point in time far outweighs the immediate gains on public finance through transaction taxes. So I'm pretty much supporting what has been said earlier on. Thank you for listening.
Baby, my mom has come to stay with us for a few days, okay?
Yes, baby.
Baby, my mom has come to stay with us for a few days, okay?
Yes, baby.
Baby, I want to drive.
Yes, baby.
Baby, bring it down.
Yes, baby.
Baby, I want your MoMo pin.
There be that.
The only way in is with your PIN. Keep it safe. MTN Mobile Money is the safest way of keeping your money and making transactions.
See?
Yes, baby.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Incoming Managing Director. So I sat you next to him because you use the same diplomatic language. You know, it says a new tax has the high probability to hurt the vulnerable in society. So you couch it nicely, just like he did. As for LED, Charlie, he just spoke his mind and went away. So just to let you know also that this is a live coverage of the MTN MoMo workshop, and exciting things happening with MTN. Now, if you use your MTN MoMo wallet to make payments, send money, and do all the other wonderful things that MoMo Money enables you to do, you could win an iPhone X, you could win a Samsung S9 Plus. We also have Samsung TV sets, as well as 2,000 Ghana cedis cash, every month. And this promotion is on from now till 31st October. Simply dial *120# to check your points. Now, we need to inform you that promo winners will be called with just one phone number, 0244 300,000. You will not receive any promo code. So if anybody is sending you a promo code, he wants to steal your money. It's not from us. And promo winners do not have to pay anything for this prize. So MoMo it everywhere you go. Our next speaker, we are happy to have because he is part of the leadership team of an industry that has a lot on its plate. And I'm sure you all know that the Bank of Ghana has been in the news for all the right reasons for some people and for the wrong reasons for others. But our guest is the first deputy governor of the Bank of Ghana, worked IMF for many, many years. He teaches economics. And one of the things he does as well, for many years, he's been, or at least in his earlier career, he assisted one of our foremost governors, Paul Akwa, where he learned the ropes nicely. Now, he will not talk about the things you think he will talk about. He will stick to the subject, and he will discuss how a proposed tax will affect the various sectors of the economy. So, ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Dr. Maxwell Opoku Afari, First Deputy Governor, BOG.
Good morning. Honorable Deputy Minister, colleagues, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Bernard said it right, I'm not going to talk about the banking sector. I also have a speech, but I've decided not to read the speech. So I'm just going to share a few thoughts, because most of the things I have in the speech have been said already, and I think just coming to stand here to read the speech will be boring. I want to share a few thoughts, and then I'll sit back and rather take questions and try to respond to your questions and engage in the discussion. That's the price you pay when you are not first on the list to speak. But before I start, I think it's important that we congratulate MTN for introducing this stakeholder forum and for sustaining it for the past 7 years. Most of the time we all come up with ideas, we run at it for the first, second time, and then we lose momentum. But they introduced this and they've sustained it for the last 7 years. And it has become an important forum where we brainstorm and ideas are shared and we're able to shape policy going forward. It's quite interesting that for today's brainstorming, it is a topic that is very touchy. And as central bankers, we are trained to walk the very fine line. And so I'm going to keep my line and walk that fine line and leave the tough job for my colleague, Deputy Minister, to do. I want to just take you back memory lane. And it so happened that I was still at the Bank of Ghana at that time in 2007 when the branchless banking guidelines was introduced. And I quite remember working on it. And at that time when that was introduced, and if you go back 10 years and you see the significant change in the landscape, that is commendable. And I would say that this ecosystem or this sector is growing at a geometric rate. And it's always ahead of the regulatory framework and the guidelines. And the central bank, being the regulator of the payment system sector in the country, is up to date and catching up with that sector. We also realized that after introducing the guidelines for a number of years, there was the need to review because the sector was growing very, very fast. So in 2015, the Bank of Ghana also introduced the guidelines for electronic money issuers. And that guideline is what has guided this sector up till now, until we decided to update the guidelines and prepare the new payment systems and services bill. But by introducing this just under 10 years ago, over 10 years ago, let me put it that way, 2007, overall we've seen the sector growing at a very geometric rate. I mean, those who love mathematics, there are different types of growth. You have arithmetic growth and geometric growth. This is the geometric one. It's growing at a pace that is difficult to catch up with. We've seen registered mobile money accounts increase to 30 million. If you want to be accurate, 29.99. So I want to sum it up to 30 million subscribers as at the end of June 2018. And just in 2015, this was 13 million, 1-3. So in 3 years, it has more than doubled, increased from 13 million to 30 million. And that's what I meant by the geometric rate. We have also seen financial inclusion increasing, and that's the main purpose of pushing the payment system reforms, to promote financial inclusion. Because for us at the central bank, with our primary mandate of price stability, we work with transmission mechanism. And one of the key transmission mechanisms is to get all these informal sectors to come into the formal sector so that our policies are able to have the multiplier effect that we want. And having this coming in financial inclusion is one of the key ways of improving the transmission mechanism of monetary policy. In actual fact, the Global Findex report in April 2018 shows that financial inclusion indicators for Ghana has increased from 41% in 2014 to 58% in 2017. And so that is a big improvement that we've seen in financial inclusion. But with this growth in this sector and growth in financial inclusion, we can no longer underestimate the economic importance of this fast-growing ecosystem. So from here, I'm beginning to stay in my line. But this is an important point. We can no longer underestimate its importance. But instead of me venturing into the tax debate, I will leave that for my colleague, the Deputy Minister of Finance, and I will focus on the growth of the sector. But that is a subtle way of shaping the debate on the taxes. How do we formalize the economy to tap the benefits of the fast-growing informal sector? That's my question for discussion today. And that forms the basis of the need for taxation. How do we formalize? We need to push the agenda of the cash-light economy that Bank of Ghana is championing. We need to reduce the cash out that we have seen with the mobile money transfers that we have now. Because yes, this is a significant improvement. We're able to increase mobile money transfers. But if we increase the transfers and at the end of the day, I go to take cash, then we've defeated the objective. That means we continue to perpetuate the growth of the informal sector. And I don't think that inures to the benefit of the economy that we want to grow. And this is the challenge I'm throwing to the private sector stakeholders gathered here, that your agenda is to work with the regulators and to work with government to try to reduce the cash out and also promote the cash light agenda. And for us to be able to do this, we need innovations. And as you have seen, when you promote the environment and create the enabling environment, you leave the innovation for the private sector to do. And for me today, the agenda here is to encourage the private sector to lead the innovation with the prime objective of promoting cash light and reducing cash out. But the government also has a role to play. And I am aware that work is being done by the government to introduce instant pay for a lot of the government services that we patronize now. And instant pay will involve a lot of mobile money transfers as part of the instant pay. Instant pay for your passport, instant pay for registration of your vehicles at DVLA, instant pay for most services, making most services of government available online so that you'll be able to use your mobile money account to pay for these services. We have these services operating at the moment. If you use DSTV, you can use your mobile money account to pay for your DSTV account. But the question is, those using the DSTV, are those majority of them already in the formal sector? We need to now move that activity to the informal sector so that we'll be able to get the economic activity that has grown so much in the informal sector to begin to use some of these services to then bring them into the formal sector to enhance our monetary policy transmission mechanism. But more importantly, to grow the formal sector. Because if we grow the formal sector, then my colleague, the Deputy Minister of Finance, will be able to enhance its domestic revenue mobilization so that we'll have a lot of people that are not in the base of the tax system to come into the base of the tax system, broaden the base, and rationalize taxes, remove nuisance taxes, and a simple mathematics shows that if you do that and you broaden the base, you'll be able to increase your total taxes, and that government can then provide the services that we want government to provide for us. And so I think that is the transformation that we need to be able to bring those in the informal sector into the formal sector. And this will rely on the private sector and the government sector in partnership to do that. The government will do its aspect, but the private sector will have to do its aspect. I was in Japan and I was in Estonia, and I learned about the use of QR codes. And I want to challenge the private sector here, and I want to challenge MTN to partner and introduce QR codes in most of the transactions that we do. It's just a simple sticker of paper attaching it to all the goods that we buy. Once we have the QR codes, all you need to do is to pick your mobile phone. You have your mobile money on your mobile phone. You just scan the QR code and you have paid for your transaction. That will automatically reduce cash out. That will automatically bring all these transactions into the formal sector. That will increase the base for the domestic revenue mobilization. And then we can have a discussion on how to enhance domestic revenue mobilization. If we want to move to Ghana beyond aid, then we need to increase tax mobilization. We need to grow the resources domestically to be able to fund and finance most of the infrastructure developments we need to move this economy to the level that we want to do. So these are the challenges that I want to put before the private sector gathered here, to work together with government, to work together with the regulator to see how best we can reduce the cash out and promote the cash light economy. For us as a central bank, we are working to create the enabling environment. There is a payment system and services bill that is being introduced at the moment. It's being discussed. It's at its final stages before it gets to Parliament. Once that is done, it will create the enabling environment and create a space for innovation, because we'll be able to bring in the fintechs, very sharp young guys who, what they do is to be innovative, create solutions to problems that we have. This will create a space for them to be active so that they can solve some of these problems that we have. But in addition to that, we need to also promote the safety of the e-payment systems. And the Bank of Ghana has already finalized its cybersecurity guidelines. We are waiting to launch that in October. Once that is launched, it will provide certain guidelines for telcos, for banks, and for the central bank to ensure that all our e-payment transactions are secured, so that it will promote confidence and it will promote trust in the use of e-payments in our economy to drive the cash light agenda and to reduce the cash out and to formalize the informal sector in the economy. I think I'll end my thoughts here and ask that we have a genuine engagement so that we work together as partners to ensure that we're able to raise domestic resources to support the government's transformation agenda. Thank you very much.
Wow. You are very powerful. You supported everybody. I don't know how you can do that, because we have two sides, but you support everybody, and they both clap for you. When you retire, become a politician. You do very well. So that was the Deputy Governor of the Bank of Ghana, supporting both sides and letting everybody feel happy in a speech which really we welcome. Our final speaker has really been mashed in the middle. He's the Deputy Minister for Finance, but I'm sure he can stand up for himself. He's been an MP for some years now, and he's MP for Boise West, and for many, many years he was spokesperson for finance even before he got into Parliament, and these days he's helping Ken Ofori-Atta, the Finance Minister. He's an engineer by training, and later on also became an economist. So he has all the tools to dribble his way out of this difficult situation. So for those of you listening, please pray for Kweku Kwarteng, but for those of you here, please put your hands together for the Honorable Deputy Minister, Kweku Agyeman Kwarteng.
Thank you very much. Deputy Governor and senior executives, distinguished guests, our media friends, ladies and gentlemen. It's good to be here, you know, and to be in a situation that Bernard has described as a difficult one. I really don't think so. But to start with, I'd like to thank MTN first for this workshop, bringing us together. Bringing us together to think about such an important national matter, but also to thank them generally for their contribution to our economic growth. I mean, I look at the many people MTN employs across the country, the many people that the telecoms sector employs across the country, and it makes government feel that we really have a partner in the private sector as we seek to grow the economy and to fight poverty. I thought somebody started a clap. We can finish it up. I stated broadly that this government genuinely believes in the private sector as the engine of economic growth and also as the engine for job creation. We deeply believe this, and we're committed to moving the strategy for economic growth and improving the lives of our people from taxation to production. So I'm not really too sure if there are two sides to this discussion. I think we are all really on the same side. And it is with this pro-business, pro-private sector mindset that government looks on this discussion about the mobile money area and how much taxes we should seek to get from there. If we do not know anything at all, we know, and the point has already been made here, that mobile money represents our best bet for achieving financial inclusion. For years, we have been encouraging people to get into the banking system so the central government, the central bank and government will have a better view of money in the system. We have achieved some success, but if you look at what mobile money has contributed, it is just phenomenal. And so government is clear that financial inclusion, if we're going to achieve the objectives therein, then mobile money, it's an immediate weapon in our hands for achieving that. So we will not hurt the hen that lays the golden egg. You can clap for that. But as was also indicated, you know, and my attention was just drawn to it. When you have money in your pocket, you only spend that money when you are exchanging it for some value. And that money then sits idle. And it's not always that we can put these monies in investments. I think it is safe, it is good for the bigger economy to have this money in a digital form. And as we advise, that money is available for other uses. And then we do get some small interest on it. But perhaps more importantly, that money is safer than money in your pocket. Again, this is not lost on government, and anything government decides to do in respect of mobile money and how involved government gets with mobile money, we'll take this into account. One thing that has not come across, but that is very clear to those of us at the center of government treasury, is the opportunity digitization affords us to fight wastage in public finances and also to fight corruption. And many of the interventions Maxwell indicated are indeed things government is seeking to deploy with a view to ensuring that the public purse is more protected and that many of the irregularities we see in the management of public finances are addressed. So again, digitization and mobile money is something government feels very strongly about. So to conclude that point, before I say what probably will appear to be a little more provocative, I have to say again that in government, especially in this government, you have an ally. We genuinely believe in the mobile money and the digital transformation. We want to be a part of it. We would seek to partner the telecoms industry and the related industries as we seek to move to a less cash-light, a more cash-light society, But there's one thing that we also need to face up, and face up frontally. You know, oftentimes it has been made to look as though more taxes would go to head business, and on this occasion would go to head mobile money, the way it is evolving and the extent to which we want to benefit from it. But let's remember that unless government would get its fiscals right, the resulting macroeconomic instability would hurt business more. It is politically easier for government not to increase taxes. It is politically easier, and especially for this administration that believes we ought to charge as few taxes as possible and to support the private sector as much as we can. It would have been easier to just say we will not tax. We will allow the private sector to have the freedom to hold their own money, to expand the economy, to expand their businesses and within the economy, and then the benefits will come to us. It would have been very easier to do that, and we would have lived true to our image as a government that would not seek to impose taxes. But we owe it as a responsibility to the economy and to the fight against poverty that we keep the macroeconomy stable. And so whilst we try to deal with the expenditure, and we are not oblivious to that, we know that we will need to confront expenditure. And we will do our best to achieve that. But to complement that effort, we also need to raise revenue. And our task, really, as was indicated, is to get the balance right. The things I have heard this morning is only suggesting to me and to government that if at all you are going to do this, you must take these things into account. What I would say that in the coming budget, government has not made a decision to impose taxes on mobile money, additional taxes on mobile money as is being suggested. But if at all government is minded to introduce any taxes related to mobile money, government would do so sensitive to the consequences and would make sure that the balance is right. It is not possible to at this point say that government would do one thing or would not do one thing. What I can assure you is that it is with a lot of difficulty that we made those decisions to introduce the tax measures we did during the mid-year review. And for a government that came a year and abolished many taxes as a way of supporting the private sector, of course, we would not easily introduce tax measures unless we genuinely believe that we are better off doing that and keeping the macroeconomy stable so our businesses can plan and keep the economy strong than to allow the fiscals to slip and to create instability only because government wants to maintain its political image as a government that doesn't want taxes. We are in government to do what we think is right. We believe that the focus must move from taxation to production, but we do so sensitive to the very things we need to help the private sector. So, colleagues, we are all on the same side. We think mobile money, it's a good development. We are happy to support it, and government would definitely take into account the many concerns that have been shared here in relation to taxing mobile money transactions, if at all we are minded to consider that discussion. I would not speak much. Maybe it would have been expected that I would say in more forthright terms that government is definitely not doing this. If I'm not going to do that, I do not think I should stand here for any longer, except to make the point that we have made a firm decision within government. It has been communicated to the Ministry of Finance that we should begin structured dialogue with the telecoms sector to advance government initiative to create more digitization in the economy, and also to see how we can use the facilities and the technologies that you have to enhance the way government does business, the way people interact with government, the way people make payments to government. And so we see this perhaps as the beginning of those engagements, and we're happy to see you as partners. Thank you very much.
Bursting through,
Hey, new phone, new TV. Why, new job, Anna?
Same double. Man, forget to say every month of August inside we day. MTN MoMo, match again flow second stone.
Hey, you talk true.
Exciting things are happening with MTN MoMo. Etikoswa pump your MTN MoMo wallet. No fire payments, send money, shut our bills. Just do more on your MTN MoMo. For building more points, now winning more. iPhone 10, Samsung S9 Plus, Samsung TV sets, and up to 2,000 cedis e-cash. Ubeta free every month. And you're charging baby. 80 dialing *120# for check your points. Promo where you're locking it down till 31st October 2018. Afeti, uwinia promo code biya. Untiashi, asana wajo price. Uwinia number ba coupe and a befrel 0244 300 000. Now about Joe price our MTN office. MTN for text message and charge 80 koswa. Just MoMo it everywhere you go. MTN MoMo. I use a coat, a channel, a Taribian TNC supply.
Thank you very much indeed. Please put your hands together for the Deputy Minister, Kweku Kwarteng. We want to announce that the incoming MD for Barclays Bank has a prior engagement, so she will be leaving us in the course of the program. And please do not see that as a disruption. We've already agreed with her to leave. So thank you, madam. You may leave whenever you find right. We want to jump into a discussion, but the guy has blown the balloon because he says they've not decided to increase any tax. So I think we should just go home. Because, I mean, why are we here? So what I'm going to do is to get Ellie to make a few comments. So I'm hearing the Deputy Minister say, we haven't taken any decision to tax mobile money. We agree that we must go to digital economy. In fact, we need you to help us digitize the economy. And then he asked something small. Even if we will increase the tax or introduce a tax, we will take a lot of things into consideration. That's the part that I didn't get. But I don't know whether you are happy. So we can just go home. So that we don't waste anybody's time. Ellie.
Well, thank you once again. And Deputy Minister, thanks for your comments. I think from our side, three things I'll talk about. It's very refreshing to hear him allude to all the gains that mobile money has made and the fact that it's actually what will take us to where we want to take us as far as financial inclusion is concerned. And so it's important that we recognize that and support. The second one is the comment around dialogue, because I believe that in everything, dialogue actually has the key. Dialogue means that we are able to discuss and understand the opportunities, the role of every player, what you bring to the table. And most importantly, he talked about the fact that we have a lot of expertise in the space when it comes to digitization. And so to leverage on that expertise to try and digitize the economy. Because once we do that, we believe, like we have said, that those levers that will be moved by the digitization in itself will transform the economy to the extent that some of these discussions around taxes may be dealt with by just the sheer growth in the economy size and the fact that the underlying standard fees and revenues from taxes will deal with whatever requirements we'll need. Just to indicate as the last point, which is the whole discussion around the deputy governor's point, which borders on trying to take out cash out and actually push payment. In fact, that's the journey on which we are. And that's why the whole month has been dedicated to digitizing payments, because we also recognize that the business of mobile money has certain transitions. We've gone through the money transfer, remittance bit. Now we need to make it an everyday thing so that when you get up in the morning, you don't need to carry a purse. Your money is on your phone or whatever other electronic forms you have kept money. So your taxi to wherever you are going, your breakfast, your lunch, everything will be achieved using your electronic funds. And like I indicated, electronic money has a lot of value because unlike physical cash, which is away from the financial system and cannot be monitored or tracked, digital money is always available. And once it is not in use by one individual, somebody else can leverage it. So you have extra value of money at the same time because use cases then enable that. Now, to achieve that on the technology side, the Deputy Governor talked about QR codes. Indeed, it's already happening. And today I can say that a lot of fintechs are promoting that. And at MTN, we've already launched QR codes. And we are using that as the drive to digitize this payment and to digitize the economy. And so that he can take from us as commitment to try and push those frontiers. And part of that is also to try and bring a lot of the informal retail into the space. So we are growing merchant acquisition. So that's a whole job. We have set up a unit in MTN where all they do is go and acquire retailers and promote acceptance of electronic money so that we can digitize that. And to further help those who are at the bottom, who cannot afford smartphones, we have another technology, which is the merchant ID, which works just like the QR. So if you don't have a smartphone which can scan a QR code, you can enter a few digits, I think 6 digits, which is the standard, and that converts the format of your basic phone into a smartphone, just like you are scanning a QR. And you also can execute the same payment anywhere. So it doesn't matter the format in which the merchant is. You can go to that merchant and be able to pay with your basic phone or your YAM. So if you don't have smartphone, you can still pay. You can do all the other things. So on the technology side, that is also happening. So those will be my comments, and I believe that going forward, the collaborations will continue.
Let me take a comment from Mr. Rasmussen. So you pointed out Ghana's impressive growth in adoption of mobile money. But talk to me about why we seem so enamored with cash out. It appears we are not using the mobile payments for other levels of payment. It's more people store and go and remove the money. Is our growth trajectory the way it grows everywhere else? The fact that a lot of people are adopting mobile money, but still they want to go and take out cash to buy something instead of using it to pay for other things and make the payment on the mobile. To comment on that for us, please.
Okay. Yes, in answer to your question, it's common everywhere. So I think that what we saw in some of the figures I think Ellie put up earlier, that 99% of transactions done are done in cash, even though the value of them is only about 63% of the total value. So obviously we've digitized high value transactions. So if companies are doing transactions or we're doing international trade or other things like this, that's all gone digital. But in fact, in daily life, most people are still transacting in cash. So we see it as an in-between step. I think at one time people thought we could move very quickly directly into total digital payments. That's clearly not happening. If we want to build trust in the system, then for a while at least, people are going to want to cash out. And I think that the way we get at this issue is about building use cases that people really want to do. You know, what in their daily lives are people doing? So one of the examples has come up over the use of, say, QR codes to be able to very easily do your proximity retail payments. And I see this in China. You go on the street in cities in China, and the vendor is selling watermelons. They won't even take cash anymore. They want you to do with a QR code. So you know, these are the transitions that we need to get to, where we get to what people do in their daily lives, and we're not there yet. And so we've got a transition period. How long is it? But unless we make cash out ubiquitous and easy, I don't think we'll ever build the trust towards, doing things digitally. So we're in this in-between state of affairs. By the way, one comment on QR codes, I think it would be useful for the regulator or the government to actually work with industry to set a single standard, for Ghana. Otherwise, we're going to have individual business standards. And I think that, again, doesn't get us where we want to go. And so I'm glad to hear businesses introducing it. But it's possible, otherwise you end up with a Visa standard or a MasterCard standard or a MTN standard or something else. And it's not so hard to do, I think, to have a single standard that would encourage that.
We will be coming to you for comments. If you have any questions, we're happy to take them. But I'll be happy to take a quick comment from the Deputy Minister. So you've essentially told us that you are not considering increasing or imposing taxes on mobile payments. Yet you made a very profound point by saying that businesses should not think that when taxes go up, their businesses will be affected. Because what is worse is to have macro instability instigated by fiscal imbalances, and that could be worse for businesses. So what I want you to tell us is, how serious are your fiscal challenges? I remember during your vetting, you spoke about some gap in the economy. I know because of the banking challenge, we've had to borrow more money. Talk to us a bit about how government is trying to bridge its fiscal gap. In the budget, I saw at least 1.4 billion revenue deficiency. Comment a bit about that for us, so that we'll have a sense of whether next year budget Ken will be tempted at all, or whether we are out of the woods on the fiscal side.
Well, thank you. To start with, and I say this without any politics. we inherited an economy that had a lot of considerable arrears. The debt to GDP was 73.1%. We're in an IMF program, and that alone would pose some challenges for you. So there's limitation on what you really are able to do, how much you are easily able to spend. But at the same time, we have come to power upon commitments we made to the people of this country. And if you need what I call the political peace of mind to govern, you must be seen to show some commitment towards delivering on those promises. And the challenge has been getting that balance right. On the one hand, paying your contractors, because in the end, they're the same contractors who will deliver on your new projects, clearing the arrears, because government could go to court if you didn't clear those arrears. It doesn't matter that it was done under a different administration. So you need to find some money for that. But at the same time, there are people out there who were promised that we would improve or we will address unemployment, and therefore they want their jobs. And it makes a lot of sense. And so, if you ask what the challenges have been for me and for those of us, especially at the Center of Government Treasury, the challenge has been getting the balance between these two right. Now, what we are doing, again, we came to power on the commitment that we do not want taxation to be at the center of our economic management strategy. It is something we deeply believe in. I generally do not believe that the way to run an economy is to continue to tax and tax. My superiors in government do not believe this, so we're clear about that. So we would have wished that we didn't have to, especially after the 2017 tax reliefs, that we didn't have to do some of the things that some of the measures we introduced in the media review, which is why we try to focus on those earning more. That it was easier to ask higher income earners to bring a little more as a way of dealing with the fiscal challenge that confronts us. But more importantly, what is going to happen going forward is what we refer to as intensified compliance measures. There is a subculture in revenue mobilization where taxpayers, especially the big taxpayers, would not pay their taxes as promptly and as properly as they should, and the tax authorities would make an assessment. There will be exchange of letters and the lawyers, and this is such a pervasive culture across the revenue mobilization landscape that we are now contemplating more intensified compliance measures. There are tools available to government within the law to deal with some of these things in a more aggressive way. We're going to be doing some of those things. And I'm concluding on this. We also see tax evasion that is of a criminal nature. And I can cite an example. If you're a bonded warehouse and you're supposed to ex-warehouse goods by paying the taxes, and you take those goods out of those warehouses, I say this as an example, it is not just tax evasion, it's a criminal offense, and going forward, we'll be treating them as such. So, as to what we are doing, we're looking more at compliance, and that is why I say, right now, as we sit here, we have not made that decision to be increasing taxes or to increase tax on mobile money. But nobody knows tomorrow, which is why we would focus more on the compliance measures But just let's have the peace that this government would not introduce taxes.
Fantastic, thank you.
I
want to acknowledge the presence of the head of payments systems at the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Seto Amediku. He's here with us. And he's a very important part of the conversation insofar as the mobile payments have been involved. He's been quite key in developing the law. And in seeing Seto, I just got a question for your boss, Maxwell. Quick question before we take comments from the floor. So you mentioned the transmission mechanism. One of the things I wonder about is when you guys make MPC announcements and all these big interest rate cuts and nothing happens on the ground, I'm sure you're worried because a lot of the economy's informality means that you can't really know what is going on. Question, what percentage of uptake of mobile payments do you need to make the transmission mechanism more predictable? Does the question make sense? Because we are now for 39%, right? Where from the figures in 2014 it was 13%. Now 2017 is 39% MoMo uptake. So my question is, what percent do you need all Ghanaians to be on mobile money for your transmission mechanism to work at equilibrium?
Thank you very much. Is this working?
Yes, please.
Thank you very much. There are different channels of monetary policy transmission. So we have the bank lending channel, we have the credit channel, we have other channels, and we also have the expectations channel. One key advantage of the mobile money evolution in Ghana is that, unlike Kenya, is that the case of Ghana is bank-based. And the fact that it's bank-based means that as and when that grows, our monetary policy rate impacts on the bank credit channel. So as the mobile money grows, and because the mobile money wallet is bank-based, all your monies that are kept are based through bank, or you need to partner with bank. Unlike the case of Kenya where it wasn't bank-based. As it grows, then we're able to impact the cost of credit. We're also able to impact the availability of credit, and the cost of credit is the interest rate that you pay. And our monetary policy rate is supposed to then become the leading indicator of where we think interest rates to go, to be able to make access to money, whether cheaper or expensive, depending on the direction of inflation and where we think we're going. So as the mobile money sector grows, and as we're able to keep more of the money in the bank and not cash out, then we're able to impact the availability of credit, then we're able to also impact the cost of credit, and we're also able to impact inflation as part of our monetary policy objective. So that is very important. I will not be able to put a number on the growth, but as it grows, now it is leaking. It is growing, but it's leaking through cash out. So as we use the mobile money and we put all the transactions through mobile money, we are cashing it out. And as you cash out, you weaken the impact of monetary policy decisions. But as it stays in there without the cash out, we introduce all these innovations. We will strengthen the transmission mechanism. We also use the expectations channel where, depending on the way we've communicated and depending on the credibility of our policies, that also impacts on our monetary policy.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. So our time is 5 minutes to midday. We are here at the MTN MoMo workshop on the implications of now imagined tax increases on the payment system. I want to say a big thank you to our listeners on CTFM. We are crossing over to normal programming, so we'll say goodbye to those of you on radio. But for those of us here, we want to take questions. So you have 4 people: the Deputy Governor, the Finance Minister's Deputy, you have the MTN Head of Mobile Money Company, and you have the gentleman from CGAP. We have 2 mics in the audience. If you have a question or a comment, just indicate by show of hand. And please come forward. Ken has a comment. He's the CEO of the Chamber of Telcos. And then we'll go to the table behind. Thank you, Ken.
Thank you very much. Deputy Minister, you see, he's a politician, so he plays it very nicely. But I just want to remind all those who are fixated on just increasing the percentage from 0 to a percentage that it's important to look at the telecom sector. It's important to look at mobile financial services rather as a cash horse that needs to be developed to speed up than a cash cow that has to be unsustainably milked. That's very important. And to say that, I also, and I agree that we need to move to payment. That's why we need to develop a national merchant payment strategy that would ensure that instead of taking the money out, we keep the money in. Because definitely the competition is cash. If we are able to do that, it will transform a lot of the things that we do. After all, revenue is rate times the number of people who pay times the taxable amount.
Yes.
So it's not just to increase just the rate, but we could also look into increasing the number of people who have to be taxed. And so we need to push to that point, and that's where government can lead. If government can decide that next year, every government payment should be done electronically. One, it will cut up all the leakages that happen in the system. Two, it would ensure that once the money is paid, we can see it. The deputy minister sitting there straight away would be able to see it. And as has been said, now our academics can apply economic policy rightly, because currently most of the people are out of it, and we're attempting to use models that have been worked out in areas where there's a lot of data, but our data is outside. So really, I would challenge the minister that even if the temptation is high, he should really look at it.
He should resist the temptation.
Yes, he should resist it. It is more difficult to do that, but sustainably and into the long term, it is better to be able to get a lot more people in there, get a lot more people using it. Let's note, 7.5 million Ghanaians are still outside the inclusion.
Yes.
And they are more difficult to bring in. And the whimper of the fact that their money that they are moving around will be taxed will let them move away.
Yes.
Look at the Uganda example. In 2 weeks, the levels at which it dropped. So there's empirical evidence to inform us that definitely that looks very tempting. It looks like the broad way, but the narrow way is still the better way to be able to take Ghana.
Thank you very much, Ken. Yes. So I like your horse analogy. So it's a cash horse and not a cash cow. And I know we stand the risk of flogging a dead horse, because I think the matter has been put on hold. But let's take your comments, sir.
My name is Osman Issa. I work for a company called Hamsutel Technologies, a VAS and content provider. My comment is also to the Honorable Minister. Bernard, I know you are very passionate about economics. But, Mr. Deputy Minister, I would want us to pay attention to what I call electronic communication economics. In other areas, they call it telecommunication economics. It's an area that if you pay attention to, we can always have a dialogue where you will be able to take the right decisions when it comes to policies surrounding electronic communications. What I see today in Ghana is that you have the telecom or the electronics guy sitting one side, and you have government and the policy makers sitting the other side. And the policy makers will suspect that, I think there's money there, let's go and take our share. And that is why we are here, talking about tax. What is the proposed solution? I think that the Ministry of Finance need to have a team in place. And that team, irrespective of whichever government is in power, should be a permanent team to pay attention to the electronic communication economics. Okay. And Bernard, what we can do is this. This team, all the time, they will look at the technologies and the network architecture of whatever is going on. Note that anytime there is a new technology or an architecture is changing, there is an impact on the economy. If you take mobile money interoperability, the architecture, we change it, but we did not really analyze the impact on the economy. So if we have a team, and that team, I will really recommend that it's a team that should be formed by the Ministry of Finance. so that as much as possible, they can always look at the technologies that we are actually having in the ecosystem. They can look at the network architecture, and day in, day out, I guarantee you can find various and innovative ways of making money.
Okay, thank you very much.
Chasing.
Thank you very much. Are there any more comments on the issue? We're taking one from the back and then one from Toma in the front. Yes, sir. Toma.
My name is Toma Emery from Economy Times newspaper. I think that rather than be looking at even the possibility of additional taxes on mobile money, I think we should be looking at it from the other way around, in terms of actually giving tax incentives to SMEs in particular that use mobile money for transactions. They should actually reduce, I think government should actually consider reducing the tax rate for SMEs that use mobile money rather than cash for their transaction. We shouldn't be looking at taxation at all. It should be the other way around.
Okay.
Because, I mean, we've stated all the benefits already. So that is the best way to actualize those benefits, by giving them a fiscal incentive to go for mobile money.
So that when they use mobile money, they pay less tax on their regular business.
Exactly. And government earns the money through more efficiency.
That's a very interesting suggestion. So SMEs that do transactions with mobile payments should rather be charged a lower tax rate, so that all businesses will go on mobile money, so that you can have the full population. Is this something you consider?
I mean, we can do both. We can do by both. What I mean is that
you can do both.
What I mean is that, yes, you may have a certain tax across board and provide special incentives for specific means of transacting business. That is to say, yes, if government says, if you made a payment via mobile money, for instance, on this charge, you have a discount. But that does not tie government's hands for saying that a certain tax may be, whatever. So I totally share that point.
This is like Ukowu United, Asasia Bayen Tijai.
Oh, but okay, if I'm sounding as though government perhaps is contemplating something. Government is not. But okay. I'm only saying that the economy is dynamic, and we do not want headlines that say never, so that when there's a need to do it, it becomes difficult to do that politically. But we never have considered.
We perfectly understand that. We'll take two final comments, one from the back, and then the last one from Derek.
Okay, my name is Romeo Buje, IT Consortium. From the discussion, we can all agree that the enemy here is cash. And cash costs money. And government is putting a lot of money behind cash. Because if I take money from my pocket and I use it to buy anything, I don't pay for that. But somebody else is paying for it. And if we turn it around and rather give incentive for using digital money and punishing cash, then we'll be moving people more into digitization than leaving them in cash. One of the things that, for me, I'm passionate about, that I wish government could make sure it happens, is this national ID. It's very, very easy. If we can have this thing done, we can just have a policy that says that any system that runs on financial space should have national ID as mandatory. So whatever I use, whenever I make payment, it is tagged. And wherever it goes, government will know. So taxing the merchants, I mean here, the business people, will be very easy. Because if you say that you cannot receive cash, then every money that you receive, government will know.
Okay.
And by that, you can expand the economy and reduce tax.
Thank you very much. I think you should form a working committee from people here. You have so many good ideas. So just take them to the ministry after the program. We'll take one from the back.
My name is Estelle with MTN. I just wanted to give a clarity that mobile money does have NFC payments as well as QR code payments. So that is currently available on MTN Mobile Money. Question, what is government doing now to harness digital payments and platforms like mobile money in the expansion of the tax bracket to the informal sector, example in levy collections and so on and so forth? Because MTN as an enabler is available to support. What is government doing to expand the tax bracket to include more people instead of taxing the existing taxable bracket? Thank you.
Thank you. And the final one we will take from Derek Lai of the Chamber of Telecommunications.
All right, thanks, Bernard. Usually when my boss talks, I don't want to talk, but I just wanted to touch on the empirical evidence he talks about. Currently what we're seeing in Uganda is that 2 weeks after implementation, associated value loss of the mobile money sector there is $182 million. Now, MTN business MTN is saying there in Uganda that the business has dropped by 30% just by the introduction of the taxes, and the agents are getting 40% less of what they used to get. Now, mobile money tax itself, if you tax mobile money, you are taxing the movement of money. So you are discouraging trade, you are discouraging commerce, and you are disrupting the value of everything within the flow of that movement. But really, the point I wanted to make is beyond just taxation, I think commentary over the business itself. We're talking about uptake in this forum. And we've seen this year, I know the fire has been going towards my good friend, the Deputy Minister of Finance. I wanted to send it a little bit towards the BOG as well, that we're seeing the Bank of Uganda say that this is a discriminative tax following the implementation. Now, we've seen commentary over the sector, a lot of commentary surrounding mobile money is not transparent this year alone in Ghana, and the reason why we want to monitor it, and everybody's just quiet, because it's important that the kind of signal that policymakers throw to the public would incentivize and strengthen confidence for general people to be able to believe that this is a sector that they would love to be able to participate in. So that's my commentary I'd like to pass.
Thank you very much, Derek. Please put your hands together for yourselves. Those were really nice comments. We need to announce before we take final comments from the floor that we have lunch, and we have ushers who would give you lunch coupons. We're happy to have you join us for lunch. And after the final comments, Angela Edu Ampofo will do our votes of thanks. So what we'll do is to take concluding remarks. If there's anything you've heard that you feel you want to comment on, Mr. Rasmussen, Dr. Afari, Ellie, and then the minister, just a couple of minutes concluding thoughts. What you want us to go home with in relation to the topic and today's proceedings.
Just one comment to say, I think this is very positive. I mean, I think it's highly unusual we get to have this kind of discussion in a country where the deputy minister, the deputy governor come, and we have this kind of open discussion. So I would congratulate the government and the Bank of Ghana on being a part of this discussion. And I think we have to recognize the issues, as the deputy minister said. It's not easy for any government to raise taxes. But if you're a responsible government, you need to have fiscal discipline. And so there's that other side of it. But I think it will be a balanced discussion. I think that's what the Deputy Minister said. And I think this kind of open dialogue is very positive.
Thank you very much. Deputy Governor.
Thank you very much. What I want to say is that the e-payments system is a sea change, and it's a game changer. And it is going to help to push this society to the cashless society. And the Bank of Ghana is ready to create the regulatory environment to enhance innovation so that we move this to the next level where we formalize the informal sector, which will inure to the benefit of the monetary policy and also to the fiscal, because to the monetary policy to enhance our transmission mechanism and also to reduce the cost of printing money, but also to the fiscal to broaden the base, which is the discussion we're having here, and that broadened base will help us to enhance domestic revenue mobilization.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Ellie, You have the floor.
Yeah, just to continue from where the Deputy Governor ended, is the whole space is becoming very exciting, but even more important is everybody involved understanding the dynamics of the space and how it is changing. And so there's a need for continuous engagement and dialogue at every level, both from the Ministry of Finance, government, the regulator, and all the stakeholders, because by so doing, we'll be able to share and understand where we want to go together, and I'm sure together we can get to our destination. And finally, the comment around the national ID, which is a very key enabler. I think that one is a big ticket item, which we believe government must put a lot of resources behind so we can realize that, because once we do that, we manage the identity issues within the space and provide the kind of clarity and traceability for activities within the space. That would be my...
Thank you very much. Eli, final words from the Minister and your response to the question at the back. How do you hope to utilize the services of people like MTN to get your tax compliance going? So that was a question, plus your final comments.
Thank you. I answered that also in a broad response to my own impression here, that dialogue ought to be the way going forward. I mean, as government, we are not experts. The industry guys and the technical people are the experts. We are willing to let you even lead the discussions, and then we would make the policy judgments. The team at the Ministry of Finance is not a bad idea already. We have a desk. What I am hearing you say is that we probably should improve the capacity of this desk more, give them more attention so that they can look at the telecoms economy and help government maximize what we can from it. National ID, brilliant idea. Without it, things become difficult. And then in conclusion, we definitely would be working with industry players. So if you ask what we're doing, what we're going to do is that we're going to engage with you. We're going to engage with you. I sit here not as a technical person. The point that Max made, that instant payment, we're beginning to develop a facility for government officials that you can no more travel with cash, that your cash will have to be loaded digitally. It makes accountability easier. These are many things we are deploying, but as I said, we would engage more with those of you in industry so you can lead government in this.
Thank you very much. Please put your hands together for our panel. We will now receive the vote of thanks from Angela Edu Ampofo.
Good afternoon once again. On behalf of MTN Ghana, MTN Mobile Money Limited, we want to say a very big thank you to everyone who made this event a success. First and foremost, we want to extend our sincere appreciation to our panelists. We are very grateful to you for taking time off your busy schedules to make this event a success. We'd also want to say thank you to all MTN Ghana executives, MTN Ghana staff, friends of our media partners, our bank partners for coming to make this program a success. And we hope to see you here same time next year for another insightful discussion. Thank you so much and have a wonderful week.
Thank you. Thank you for thanking us. Before we go, we want to announce again, we have lunch, we have coupons for everybody. We want to invite CEO of MTN to join the panel for a quick group photograph, and another one with Chamber CEO. We just want to do a few quick photos. Ushers will go around and hand out the lunch coupons. We have a stand outside where you can do all kinds of interesting things with MTN. The MoMo month has just begun. There's a lot going on. So stay with us as we make things happen. So thank you for being here. My name is Bernard Avele, and we will see you at our next event. So we want to ask them to just do a quick lineup, yes, for a photo opportunity. CEO, yes. Please look into the camera.
My mom has come to stay with us for a few days. Okay?
Yes.
Yes, baby.
Baby, I want to drive.
Yes, baby.
Please go out. The ushers will direct you to lunch.
Yes, baby.
No need for coupons. Just go out, the
I
ushers will
want your
direct you
MoMo
for
pin.
lunch. Thank you very much.
The only way in is with your PIN. Keep it safe. MTN Mobile Money is the safest way of keeping your money and making transactions.
See?
Yes, baby.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Baby, my mom has come to stay with us for a few days. Okay?
Yes, baby.
Baby, I want to drive.
Yes, baby.
Baby, bring it down.
Yes, baby.
Baby, I want your MoMo pin.
Baby, that.
The only way in is with your PIN. Keep it safe. MTN Mobile Money is the safest way of keeping your money and making transactions.
See?
Yes, baby.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
More and more people are using MTN Mobile Money in their everyday lives. Hear that? She just paid her kids' school fees. She just paid for her lunch. And this man just paid his tithe. And this guy just paid for his shoes. No. You just send money to the old lady again, eh? Very necessary.
It's like money in your pocket.
Keep up with the times. Got a payment to make? Just MoMo it. It's that simple, secure, and convenient.